Number 1. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare a response and 45 seconds to record the response. What kind of reading material, such as novels, magazines, or poetry, do you most like to read in your free time? Explain why you find this kind of reading material interesting.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
I mostly read plays in my free time, as I'm an aspiring actress, and I do like the way a play is conducted, as well as the dramatic events. I do mostly love the Shakespearean plays, as you can easily identify with the characters, even though they live in a completely different time from ours. You can identify with them because they deal with problems that we face in our time, such as love, family problems, jealousy. I also like to read fantasy books, as they lead.
There are two kinds of reading material that I usually use. The first one is books, and the second one is magazine. I like to read books because we have a story, and the author creates his world, and it is very interesting to see the adventures of the people. My second type of reading material is magazines, because I like sports and I like to know what's happening in the world of sport with images and articles about the sport.
Number 2. In this question, you will be asked to talk about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare a response and 45 seconds to record the response. Some students would prefer to live with roommates. Others would prefer to live alone. Which option would you prefer, and why?
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
On the one hand, I think to live with a roommate could be a good thing, since you always have somebody to talk with when you have problems or things like that, and it's a good way to meet people. But on the other hand, you can't really do whatever you want. I mean, if you like parties and if your roommate does not, it's not a good thing for you. You are not free to do what you like, and it's not really interesting, and it's well, I live by myself and I'm very glad, since I can do what I want. I have nobody to tell me what to do. And
some students will prefer to live with a romance. However, I prefer live in the Illuminism, because it is a period there is
Number 3. In this question, you will read a short passage, listen to a talk, and answer a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response. Read the article from the university newspaper about the plan to build new student housing. You will have 50 seconds to read the article. Begin reading now. Now listen to two students discussing the article.
I can't believe these plans. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Really? Seemed okay to me, especially the argument about the cars.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, it doesn't matter where students live, because they still have to get to class somehow, right? At least if they built new dorms on campus, students would use campus transportation
Instead of their cars. I see what you're getting at. If they live off campus, they're still going to have to drive and park on campus. Might even create more traffic.
Exactly.
Okay. Still, though, the point about students interacting more with people in the community, that doesn't seem to be a bad thing, does it?
But the more time spent off campus, in town, the less time spent on campus. What about all the clubs, shows, discussions, all the campus happenings that just kind of happen? It's important to be on campus to really take advantage of these things. Having a different living experience shouldn't be given up at the expense of not being as much a part of the university community.
The woman expresses her opinion of the university's plan. State her opinion and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
In the woman's opinion, the plans of the university to build housing, to build new student dorms outside off campus are not good. She is against that because she thinks that the reason the university is giving, which is that there are too many cars on campus already, and there is no space for more dorms and more cars there, doesn't really work, because she says that if people live on campus, they don't even need a car to go to university, but if they live off campus, they will need a car to get there. That's her one reason, and she also says it's better for students if they live on campus, because that way they have better possibilities to enjoy all the benefits from their student life. They can take part in many of students' actions on campus without having to worry how to get there and how to get away from there again.
She doesn't agree with the plan because she personally thinks that if the location of the students is on the campus, they will not need cars, so they will not need parking because they will use the campus transportation. But of course, if they are out, they will need cars, and it will be bad for the campus. And she thinks that if people are on the campus, they can assist to campus happening, and it's very important because with that they can be part of university community, which is more important than being out of the campus and meeting other people.
Number 4. In this question, you will read a short passage, listen to a talk, and answer a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response. Now read the passage about a topic in psychology. You will have 45 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture in a psychology class.
So we encounter this in life all the time, but many of us are unaware that we do this, even psychologists who study it, like me. For example, the other day I was at the store and I was getting in line to buy something. But just before I was actually in line, some guy comes out of nowhere and cuts right in front of me. Well, I was really annoyed and thought, that was rude. I assumed he was just a selfish, inconsiderate person, when in fact I had no idea why he cut in line in front of me, or whether he even realized he was doing it. Maybe he didn't think I was actually in line yet. But my immediate reaction was to assume he was a selfish or rude person. Okay, so a few days after that, I was at the store again, only this time I was in a real hurry. I was late for an important meeting, and I was frustrated that everything was taking so long. And what's worse, all the checkout lines were long, and it seemed like everyone was moving so slowly. But then I saw a slightly shorter line. But some woman with a lot of stuff to buy was walking toward it, so I basically ran to get there first before her. And, well, I did. Now, I didn't think of myself as a bad or rude person for doing this. I had an important meeting to get to. I was in a hurry, so, I had done nothing wrong.
Explain how the two examples discussed by the professor illustrate differences in the ways people explain behavior.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
To begin my statement, I have to say that there are two main different kinds how you evaluate other people or your own. If you evaluate other people, you look just first on the personality or something to connect with the character. If you look at yourself, you see more the surrounding or the situation than you are, and don't see the fools or problems for yourself or what you do by yourself. And the professor has two examples to illustrate these differences, how people explain behavior. First, he was in line and a person jumped before him. He did line jumping, and he was very annoyed about this fact because he thought this person is rude or selfish. But just a couple of days later, he was in a hurry and had an important meeting, only a meeting, and then he did the same, and he just explained his behavior due to the fact that he had no time at an important meeting, and so he thought it was nothing wrong.
The two examples discussed by the professor illustrate difference in the ways people explain behavior, because the first one he doesn't understand why somebody took his place in the store. He thought that people was selfish, but in fact he didn't realize why the people took his place. And the second example, he was in a hurry, and he took the place of somebody else, and this is explained by the fact that when people explain somebody's behavior, they base on the character and not on the situation of the other people.
Number 5. In this question, you will listen to a conversation and answer a question about it. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response. Now listen to part of a conversation between a student and her advisor.
Okay, Becky, so you've chosen all your courses for next term?
Well, not really, Professor. Actually, I've got a problem.
Oh?
Yeah. Well, I still need to take an American literature course. It's required for graduation, but I've been putting it off. But since my next term is my last...
Yeah, you can't put it off any longer.
Right. The thing is, though, it's not offered next term.
I see. Well, how about taking the course at another university?
I thought about that. It's offered at City College, but that's so far away. Commuting back and forth would take me a couple of hours, you know. A big chunk of time with all my other studies and everything.
True, but it's been done. Or there are a couple of graduate courses in American literature. Why not take one of those?
Yeah, but wouldn't that be hard, though? I mean, it's a graduate course. That'd be pretty intense.
Yeah, it'd probably mean more studying than you're used to, but I'm sure it's not beyond your abilities.
The speakers discuss 2 possible solutions to the woman's problem. Briefly summarize the problem, then state which solution you prefer and why.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Well, the problem of the student is that she had to take a course of American literature, but she didn't previously. But now this is her last semester, and the course is not offered anymore, so she can't put it off. The advisor offers her to take the course in another university, but it has drawbacks since she would be commuting every day and it would be exhausting. And the second opportunity is to take a graduate course, which would certainly be more difficult. Still, as far as I'm concerned, this is a solution I prefer, because the graduate course must be much more interesting, and plus she won't have to commute every morning and evening, so it would be less tiring and more interesting.
The woman problem is that she has to have an American literature course to validate his grade, and her problem is that that course is not offered next term, and the next term is her last term. So the professor discussed about 2 solutions. He proposed for her to have that course in another university, but as the other university is too far, I prefer the second solution he proposed. He proposed to have the course in a graduate course of the same university,
Number 6. In this question, you will listen to part of a lecture and answer a question about it. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response. Now listen to part of a lecture in a child development class.
Okay, young children and art. Research suggests that learning art skills can benefit a young child's development. Two of the ways it can do this is by providing a platform to express complex emotions and by encouraging persistence. Now, what do I mean when I say a platform to express complex emotions? Young children have limited vocabulary. So how would they communicate the feeling of pride, for example? A drawing, though, making a drawing of feeling proud, this is something a young child could do. So a little girl might draw herself jumping up in the air next to her bike. In the drawing, her arms are raised up in the air and she's smiling. Children can communicate their emotions, whether positive or negative, through the drawing better than they could with words. And encouraging persistence? Well, art skills can help children to develop patience and concentration to persist in an activity, the willingness to keep trying to reach a goal. So, suppose there's a little boy who wants to mold a lump of clay into the shape of a car. The first attempt doesn't look too much like a car. He's disappointed, but wants to try again. The second, third, fourth try still don't look quite right, but there's improvement with every attempt. So after some time, he gets to the point where he's satisfied with his creation. The newly shaped clay car is an instant reminder of an accomplishment, a success resulting from his persistence. The boy may be able to transfer this lesson toward other situations and activities because, well, he's had the experience of successfully accomplishing a goal through hard work.
Using points and examples from the talk, explain how learning art can impact a child's development.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
There are two ways in which art can foster a child's development. One way is if there's a platform offered for expressing a child's complex emotions, and the other one is encouraging a child's persistence. A child has very limited vocabulary, and that's why it cannot verbally express some complex emotions like grief and all this. So in a drawing, a child has the opportunity to actually show what it feels, and also with persistence, it's meant that a child can keep trying to create something, and when it's finally done, there's this success factor, an accomplishment.
Learning art could be important for children since it can be seen as a platform to express complex emotion, for example, like pride, since she gave an example of a little boy who wanted to draw a car. His first attempt was bad, but the other one, the third, the fourth, the fifth were good, so he was satisfied with himself, and he achieved thanks to its persistence. So art has been good for him, and learning art is also a good way to learn art skills, so it can only be an asset for for